Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So when you were a kid going to school, were there certain days that you look forward to when it came to school lunches? I mean, the idea of Taco Tuesday, I think, started in schools, and people really liked that. But my school did not have Taco Tuesday. In fact, mostly the food was, it was rough. It was, I think, just before parents started going, maybe we shouldn't feed our kids absolute crap every single day while they go to school. Perhaps if they ate something that wasn't purely just grease and starch, they would do better in class. They wouldn't have a giant sugar spiking, carb loading crash in the middle of trying to learn their times tables later on if they had sort of like little protein, little carbs, and maybe a vegetable. That missed me in grade school. And generally speaking, school lunches were somewhat horrific. But did you have a day that you looked forward to? Man, there's one day. It's Friday. And we got pudding cups. Pudding cups were so next level awesome. To this day, I don't know exactly what brand they were. I'm sure there's absolutely nothing good in them for you whatsoever. But man, if I could find the kind of pudding cup that my school served on Fridays, I would buy crates and crates of the stuff. And it would last forever because there was absolutely nothing natural in it. Like, it would be there. The world could end. These pudding cups would be there long after Keith Richards and the cockroaches both kicked it. So I would stockpile it like you wouldn't believe if I had an opportunity to. But they were really strict about just that one pudding cup. They were really strict about one pudding cup. And I guess it gave you a little something to look forward to on Fridays. All of us were talking about it. Oh, man. You could trade your pudding cup and essentially get anything that you wanted around school. You could get all the baseball cards, all the packages of Big League Chew. Anything you wanted, you could get if you were willing to give up your pudding cup on a Friday. It's good stuff. Because everybody always wanted more. And I remember the very first time I voted, before I was even an adult, before I was out of grade school. It was in our class election. And I think I'm still friends with this guy on Facebook. He was a couple years older than me. There were like 3 or 4 different candidates, and I don't remember any of them except for one guy whose last name I won't give on the air because I don't want people looking him up after this. But there's this one guy called Nick. And Nick looked like, when he came in to talk to my 5th grade class about why we should vote for him for a student body president, Nick looked like Zach from Saved by the Bell. All of us were looking at him going like, how did he get his hair to do that? That's crazy. He's so cool. And he talked cool, and he looked cool, and he dressed cool. And oh man, he even had a Zach phone. Like one of those he was one of the first kids I'd ever seen that had a cell phone. And he was holding this brick of a cell phone in his hand as he talked to us about how he was going to be the guy that got us the things that we wanted as our student body president. Absolutely no word of a lie. When he told us, I'd like to make things better for you. I'd like it so we got 2 desserts at lunchtime and longer recesses. And it didn't even register to me what the other desserts were. But immediately my young mind went, 2 pudding cups! It's going to be awesome! He's got my votes. I have no idea whatsoever who any of the other candidates were or what they talked about. But pretty much everybody, all of us, every single one of us in the 5th grade, were like, who are you voting for? Oh, Nick. Definitely Nick. Yeah, definitely voting for Nick. 2 pudding cups. And he's so cool. And he was cool. And so he swept the 5th grade election. Although I think it was like middle school student body president. So he was older. That was the other piece of his appeal. He was like in the 7th grade, I think. We were in 5th. He had the big Zach. So he had the big Zach phone. He had the Saved by the Bell haircut. He promised us 2 pudding cups, and he was a shoo-in. And I remember I remember him being president for a little while and getting to that first Friday and being like, hey, there's no talk of an extra pudding cup. Well, I guess he just started. Maybe he hasn't had a chance to implement that stuff. And then another Friday rolls around. No pudding cup. No second pudding cup. And eventually I found him on the playground and I asked him, hey man, what gives? What about the second pudding cup? And what he told me changed my life forever.
Let's start the show. Radio. Radio. 104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So the first time I ever voted was for a guy called Nick. I was in the 5th grade. He was running for student body president. He came in looking all cool. He looked like the guy from Saved by the Bell. He had a big Saved by the Bell phone, and he promised us 2 desserts and longer recesses. We all voted for him. Lickety freaking split. On Fridays, we got the fabled pudding cup. I wanted 2 of those. Like I said, you could at that stage in the game, a kid probably would have given you his kidney for an extra pudding cup. Pudding cups were currency because they were delicious. And week 1 rolls around, the Friday pudding cup. Hold on, just one? Week 2 rolls around. Well, now he's had a chance to implement his policies. Surely my second pudding cup is on its way. No, just one dessert, kid. You know the rule. But Nick said, and the lunch lady looked at me. It was like, who's Nick? Is he one of your teachers? And I was like, no, he's, never mind. And so it took a while to track him down because he was like a couple years older than me. Our classes weren't meshing up. I was still a kid. I was in the 5th grade, so I was just in one classroom the whole day. He was highfalutin and moving from classroom to classroom, taking math and English and science from different teachers because that's what the cool older kids did. They got to walk around outside. They got that extra little bit of freedom between periods. It looked so awesome. And eventually I found him one day on a playground, hanging out with a bunch of his buddies. And I was like, hey, man, could I talk to you? And he was like, huh? I was like, well, you're our president. And he was like, oh, right. Yeah. What do you want? I was like, you said 2 desserts. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll ask about that. I was like, that's why I voted for you. And he was like, and apparently it was just me. It was just me that took this whole thing seriously. Everybody else realized that, running for student body president in the middle school is not really anything other than, I guess, a 5th grade popularity contest, which he won. He crushed the competition at. And I walked away from that conversation going, he's not going to talk to anybody about my pudding cup. He just said what the hell it took, and then we all fell for it. I remember it was the first time I ever felt suckered. I was like, he said he was cool, that he was our friend, he was going to help us get the things that we wanted, and now he looked really upset that I would dare to talk to him, that I would dare to invade his space on the playground while he was holding court with a bunch of rather attractive 7th grade girls. And I was like, well, there's a lesson I've learned. And you know what? Honestly, that's one I'm taking to my grave. And it's funny. I thought about this the other day. I was like, I wonder whatever happened to old Nick. And I looked him up online. And essentially, he's a guy that gets paid to party for a living. I think he's in alcohol sales. And literally all of the pictures of him on Facebook are him having a great old time, selling booze, drinking booze, surrounded by a gaggle of chicks. And I was like, that hangs together. That makes sense. And he seems to have put quite the life together for himself. And I'm not surprised. He was charismatic. He was able to have people eating out of his hand by middle school. So what he's capable of as an adult, I can only imagine. But it taught me something. That I'll never forget, and I take with me to my grave. And it seems simple, but it's worth a reminder. the people you vote for sometimes will tell you things that are not true just to get your vote. And it taught me something that, well, my guy won. I didn't get what I wanted. And that probably means I got to figure out a way to get my own second pudding cup. And I found out that if you wanted to, you could pay for a second pudding cup. See, we have these lunch vouchers, and the lunch vouchers covered a certain amount of something. So I did a little bit of research. I found out that for an extra 50 pence, as was the currency in England where I was growing up, you could get yourself an extra pudding cup. If you had a pound or 2 pounds, you could get 2 or 4 extra pudding cups. And I had allowance money. I had to do chores for the allowance money. But I was like, I'm just going to make sure I do all my chores. I'm going to get my allowance, and I'm going to buy extra pudding cups. And I did. And I had a couple of pudding cups, and I gave some pudding cups away to my friends, and I was the king of pudding cups. So like, how'd you do that? I was like, you can just buy them. They're like, oh, no way. And I saw everybody around me getting what they'd wanted for years and years because they had done their homework on time. They had taken out the trash. They had mowed the lawn. They'd done whatever it had taken to get the extra 50 pence at the end of the week so they could buy their own freaking pudding cup. And I was just like, huh. When our elected official promised us something that we've been waiting for years, we all fell for it hook, line, and sinker and ended up with nothing. When we did just a little bit of research and took our own lives in our hands and put our noses to the grindstone, it was pudding cups for everyone. And that stayed with me forever. Now, who knows what the next 4 years hold? Who knows what the next 4 years hold? Who knows? There's a giant question mark floating above our future, and it's an unsettling one for a lot of people. No matter how you voted, though, and we come back to this over and over again, no matter how you voted, we are the people that can control our lives. We are the people that have the power, the influence to get that extra pudding cup, whatever the pudding cup is a metaphor for in your adult life. Which is why I'm in total support of this captain on a United flight who said this. Said his passengers weren't allowed to talk politics on his plane. Did you hear this? Oh, man. Brilliant. We'll get into it next.
Real 104.1 Radio 104.1.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
So 2 passengers had to be separated on a United flight last week after they started arguing about politics. So the captain got on the PA and said this.
I understand everybody has their opinions. That's fine. If you support him, great. If you don't, I understand. However, we're out here to go to Puerto Vallarta. We're supposed to be having a good time. And what I do ask is that as people, we have the common decency to respect each other's decisions and to get along on this 3-hour and 13-minute flight so that we can have a good time when we get down there. Nobody wants to argue. Nobody's going to change their minds by arguing. And let's keep our opinions to ourselves on this particular matter at this particular time. When cooler heads prevail and we can talk and realize that we're all human beings and that we all can stick together and we can all pull for this country in our own way, then that's what we should do. If there's anybody that has a problem with this, that needs to vent or rant or rave, there's another flight tomorrow. You're not going to be on this one. I hope that's clear.
That guy just became my new personal freaking hero. Well done, sir. All right, Funkhouser, what's going on in the news? You were working for Nikki Sixx, weren't you?
This is My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair and certainly not balanced. And now, super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhouser. Funkhouser.
I blame the slow computer.
Funkhouser. Barry Funkhouser.
I was there. It was not. I
I
was there. It was not. Slow computer. I hit play. It sat there and said, yeah. Oh,
Nikki,
play. Okay.
Just so we're clear on this, Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue is Funkhouser's other boss, and I would never hold it against him if he was doing Nikki Sixx's work whilst on this show. I'm not saying that's what happened, but, you know, if that guy in the platform boots that spits blood and goes, shout at the devil, tells you to do something, you say yes. It's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on, Funkhouser?
Donald Trump?
Hold on. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm doing okay. The sudden fall has happened. We have a week of actual weather here in SoCal, so like I had to whip out my long sleeves. And realize I'm completely out of fashion style. So I got that going for me.
Remember when you wore your mom's pants to work?
Yeah, that was yesterday. That's
a
regular occurrence, man. That's the takeaway from 2016 for me is mom pants are the best pants.
So like, where do you? Maybe you should just rather than take your mother's pants, which let's be real here, a little creepy. Perhaps you should just buy your own. Maybe this is what we'll get you for Christmas, Funkhouser. What are they, like Lululemon or something like that?
You know, they have no
Dan Skin,
no brand, no label, no tag.
No idea where they came from.
No idea. And since I've acquired the mom pants, I've been looking for new mom pants. Can't find them.
You go to the source, ask your mom.
She doesn't remember the old mom pants.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so not only are they your mother's pants, but they're pants that your mother decided a long time ago were no longer fashionable, and you went, "That's for me."
Let me look in the closet and see what I can dig up here. Oh, I was going to throw these away. Do you want them? Sure. Let me try them on. These are the best pants ever.
And they're like drawstring, right?
Yeah.
They're like flowy linen pantaloons.
Can't find any for sale now that don't say something like juicy on the butt. Don't get me wrong. I was contemplating purchasing that. But not yet. Still digging the old one. I'm
be able to do anything about the mental image that will now be in my head.
Hey, you asked.
For the rest of the day.
You can see my mom pants on Twitter, by the way, at FunkFM.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, at FunkFM. At ADSXE is where you can tweet me if you want to join in the conversation. Or see Funkhouser in his drawstring mom pants, which, to be fair, don't actually look like mom pants. They like, when you are the one or two times a year, when you actually read a magazine, and it's always when you're on an airplane because you pick up Sky Mall because the internet connection isn't working and you forgot to download anything to your tablet, and you go, "What's for sale in Sky Mall?" And inevitably, there is a picture of somebody wealthy looking walking down a beach and at sunset with somebody else that is beautiful, and they're living quite the life, and you can purchase it for however many dollars a month. They seem to be wearing these linen drawstring pants that Funkhouser is talking about. Like, when Funkhouser wears his mom's linen drawstring pants, he just looks like a very wealthy person that got back from the beach in Hawaii, living that life that you've only seen in Sky Mall.
Yes, I'm wealthy in pant room space.
Yes, pant room space. Just don't want to get into the fact that your mom's pants have room for you in them. That's uncomfortable. Let's
say it like that, then it's
let's do some news.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin had a brief phone conversation. Hello.
If you're gonna do the accent, you have to commit from the very beginning of a sentence. Go on.
I wasn't going to.
Well, yeah, you changed your mind midway through, and it was unsettling. So please read that headline again with
Donald
the accent.
Trump and Vladimir Putin have had a brief phone conversation.
Had a brief phone conversation. But yeah, they both said they can't wait to see each other in their briefs. What else?
Harry Reid says Donald Trump is a sex predator who lost the popular vote.
Yeah. A lot of people are sort of like coming around to the idea that Trump's going to be president and being like, we're in politics. Let's let's give it the old college try. Let's give it a go. A lot of the never Trump types are being like, he's our boss now. We should suck up, probably for the good of ourselves and for the good of the country. But Harry Reid, not so much. He's doubling down on it, saying that he's president sex predator, and he lost the popular vote. Trump was furious. Mostly, I think, because, in that sentence, Harry Reid didn't mention the fact that he had a bunch of successful hotels that you can go stay in, but nevertheless. Go on.
President Obama is currently on his final foreign trip to Greece.
Surprising, because I never think of Greece as being a place that has particularly nice golf courses.
It's very slippery here.
I guess it's a working foreign trip. But when I think about President Obama, I will think many things, and one of the things I will think is that guy played an awful lot of golf, and I come back to it over and over again. This is not a right thing. This is bipartisan. This is a bipartisan inability to understand how presidents take any vacation time whatsoever. I haven't used a single day of vacation in 3 years, and I'm a goofball on the radio that makes fart jokes for a living. And I haven't been able to find a time to go to a driving range in the afternoon, let alone play 18 holes on a regular basis. And when George Bush was president, he was always at that ranch in Crawford, Texas. And it's like, where do you get how can you take vacation? I don't understand it.
We're doing it wrong, man. We're doing it wrong.
Oh, indubitably, we are doing it wrong. Man.
Showing up every day, being punctual.
Yeah. Putting the punk in punctual. What a mistake that was. Setting a precedent of hardworking and reliability, of being hardworking and reliable. It's for suckers, man. Go on, what else?
A group of NRA members tried to set a world record for most people simultaneously shooting.
Oh, well, you got to have dreams and goals. Bad news is, I would imagine the record is expected to be broken almost immediately at the next BET Awards. What else?
Today is National Fast Food Day.
Oh, right. Or as the average American calls it, Wednesday. Are you going to eat fast food?
Today I brought my lunch, so I'm opposite day. Usually I'm hitting El Pollo Loco. The Wendy's down the street.
Wendy's? Oh,
Arby's
Wendy's.
if it's a really fun day.
Do you get the Frosty and dip your fries in it?
Depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes. It's rare. I just,
the closest
open my gullet and dump it all in as quick as possible.
Yeah. Inhale things that will definitely shorten your life. Straight down the old cavernous gaping gullet. Gullet's a funny word. Whenever I opt for fast food, it's always Jack in the Box because that's close. But I have to say, they're not giving us any money for this, but that brunch fast menu that Jack in the Box has launched, it's really good. They have this they can't serve you mimosas because it's Jack in the Box, but they've got this sort of non-alcoholic mimosa equivalent that is sort of I think they call it a blood orange cooler. That thing's just heaven in a glass is what that is. But whenever I eat fast food now, it's a sure sign that you've hit your 30s and you're slowing down and things are changing and your metabolism is bite me, because it's like that thing that King of Queens guy Kevin James said. When you're a kid, you can eat 4 Big Macs and finish out the day like a hummingbird, and then you have one in your 30s and you just feel like a bear that got hit by a sedative dart. You're like, oh. Go on. What else?
A lawyer in Ohio who put clients in a trance so he could molest them has been sentenced to prison.
See, I've always wondered about this. Hypnotic. Have you ever been put in a trance, Funkhouser?
I saw that David Blaine Netflix special 3 times now, so I think so.
Right. No, but what does he hypnotize you in that? Is that the thing?
That's what Canadian Jane
through
thinks.
The TV?
Yeah, that's how he's doing most of his magic. But no, I've never been through.
Hypnotizes you through the TV. Wow.
Yeah.
Think
about it.
I think you have to be from what I understand about hypnosis, you got to be kind of a willing participant in it. You can't be hypnotized against your will. From what I understand, I don't know. I've seen people hypnotized. I remember once my band was playing, and there was a kid, like a resident advisor. We were playing a college show, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I do hypnosis for fun. I learned it in this class. I took a hypnosis class." I was like, "What's the most interesting part of college?" And they were like, "My hypnosis class." I was like, "So can you hypnotize people?" I was like, "Yeah. Hey, come over here." And he turned to the kid. He was like, "I want you to focus on my finger, and I want you to relax, and I want you to shut your eyes. And when you open your eyes, you will really need to go to the bathroom, but you'll only be able to speak Spanish. Click, open your eyes." And the kid immediately started screaming. He's like, "Donde está el baño? Donde está el baño?" I was like, holy freaking God, that really worked. And like to this day, I wonder about that kid, whether he was really...
if he ever got to use the bathroom.
Well, I wonder if he ever found the bathroom. And I also wonder if, like, was that real? Was that just like his, hey, let's go mess with these guys in this band that are playing tonight? And they offered to do it to me, and I was like, I don't think so. No, thank you. I just met you, and you seem nice, but if that's actually what you can do to people, I'm not...
I'll watch.
I'll watch. And the thing is, I've always wondered to this day, is the Donde Está El Baño kid, was that real or was it fake? And hypnosis is a fascinating thing to me. Like, I knew a couple people that trained as a hypnotherapist, and invariably, all of them went through the certification and then quit. And they quit for the same reason. And the reason was there's no sort of governing body. There's no... The same rules that apply to a doctor do not apply to a hypnotherapist. And they're like, it's this huge organization that has the power to really affect change in people's lives, and there's no moral compass for it. I'm out.
Well,
and look, if you're a hypnotherapist and you do it ethically, I'm not speaking. I in no way, shape, or form am I speaking about you. But I just had two friends that went through the certification, learned how to hypnotize people, and then once they started practicing it, they're like, "This is just really shaky moral ground that I'm treading on here, and I'm not comfortable with it." And both of them quit. And so it boggles my mind, and I always wonder if this is actually possible. Like this lawyer in Ohio.
Do you think the law? There's a law that says you can't do it on the radio. You know about that?
Is there?
Law? I don't know if it's a law or if it's not a law, but I don't know if that's bull hockey either.
I've taken many responsible broadcasting initiative test. Where I've learned over and over again, this is a little peek behind the curtains of radio, but I've learned over and over again that my main function as a broadcaster is to protect the license. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's my first responsibility. But I've never seen a clause that said you can't hypnotize people on the air.
We should do it.
Lawyer in Ohio put his clients in a trance so he could molest them. He's been sentenced to prison, which is too bad because he would have been the perfect addition to Bill Cosby's legal team.
Remembering to be sad of age, man, those were the good old days. Now all these bands are streams, got dreams of getting paid, but they don't know how to rock the show, just dream of interweb fame. Really? Is that really what you want?
Stimulated minds want to know. What were you thinking? No, really, give us a call and tell us. KPRC AM 950.
Now, more AD on the radio.
So, if you're just joining us, we're talking about this lawyer in Ohio put clients in a trance so he could molest them. He's been sentenced to prison. And I guess if he successfully molested people after putting them in a trance, the whole hypnosis thing really works. You say it's illegal to hypnotize people whilst you're on the radio?
That's what I heard.
I wouldn't know.
I don't know if it's a real law, but that's what I heard.
Huh.
You can't do it because we could all do it right now, and then everyone turn right suddenly if you're driving.
Yeah,
you know.
But Canadian Jane thinks that she's being hypnotized by David Blaine through his Netflix special.
She thinks that's how he's getting away with some of them. Yeah, It's a hypnotist because of the way he talks and he repeats certain things. And, can you come here? Can you come here? It has to do with that. Has to. I mean, I don't know, but seems like it.
Huh. And have you ever been hypnotized?
No. Well,
or maybe you didn't know it.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, maybe David Blaine was speaking to you through your TV set.
That could happen.
I have to imagine that would be illegal, though. Like, if it's illegal for us to do it, excuse me, he said, hacking up a lung, still getting over the head cold. If it's illegal for us to do it, and you could understand why, I can't imagine that David Blaine would be allowed to
that's
have
Netflix.
television shows and Netflix specials without some sort of like, hey, this is a show that could put you in a trance-like state. And quite frankly, I think if that was the case, people would watch the living hell out of it and be like, "There's that no,
right?"
David
But we're
Blaine's
the
not
medium.
going to hypnotize me through the TV."
But we're on a medium that we can tell people to close your eyes and do stuff. Like TV, you can't really do that. I mean, you can, but we can accidentally hypnotize people just by being on the radio. They're listening to our voices.
I can't imagine I've ever accidentally hypnotized
Maybe we
anyone.
are hypnotizing you right now.
I don't think so. I don't think that's a thing that we're doing. But just focus on your breath. Breathe in for 10, out for 20. You might hear a seagull in the background. You're in a beautiful sunny field.
Or a dolphin.
It's a wonderful day. And your brain is filling up with orange liquid. Have you ever done any of those? Like, if you've ever done one of those hypnosis like tapes or apps or whatever the hell it is, orange liquid comes back over and over again. Have you ever done one of these, Funkhouser? Oh my gosh! So like, I have all these self-hypnosis apps that I got more out of morbid curiosity than anything else, and a lot of them were for sleep. Like I struggled with insomnia for years and years and years until I got my Jerome's mattress. Not to sound like one of my commercials, but like that actually getting a new mattress was what it succeeded, where doctors and sleeping pills and a sleep clinic all failed. My mattress got me to sleep, and that was awesome. But before then, every single We Can Get You to Sleep app or hypnosis tape or whatever the hell it is that you could purchase, I tried them all just to try and get to sleep, to try and battle my insomnia. And not on every single one of them, but the idea of orange liquid came up over and over again. And I guess it creates some sort of mental thing. It's a trigger in some way, like orange and liquid. It was like a warm orange liquid factored into it. And I was like, to me, it just sounded like you left your crush out in the sun for too long. And whatever the case may be, warm orange liquid came back over and over again. You ever tried one of those ever? Like
Sounds
a self-hypnosis
like Tang.
thing?
Now I want to go out and get Tang.
Yeah, I left Tang outside.
No, I
long.
can't get behind that. That whole self-hypnosis thing.
Uh-huh.
But, I need to try again. It's been a long time.
The one time I use them now, I don't use them to fall asleep anymore because I just fall asleep thanks to my Jerome's mattress. I don't think Jerome's even exists in any of the markets this show is on, but whatever. Like the thing is, the thing is, like the only time I use these self-hypnosis We Can Get You to Sleep apps anymore is when I'm on a plane, and I don't know what the hell it is they do to you. Like I put them on and I think I'm really going to listen to this one. I'm going to see what the hell it is they're saying to me. And I never really fall asleep, but I just feel like I lose track of time, and all of a sudden we're at the destination. It's a great way to kind of get some rest. I can never sleep on a plane, but it does help me rest. And anybody that knows anything about it, tweet me at ADSXE, because I'm fascinated with how it works. But there's just some weird moral stuff going on here with that. It just, the fact that a lawyer was able to hypnotize his clients, put them in a trance, and molest them, that says that hypnosis is a power that can clearly be abused. It's interesting. All these things like homeopathic medications and all that sort of, you ever taken that St. John's wort stuff?
No, I've heard of it, but I can't remember what it does.
It's sort of like nature's antidepressant. It does a lot of the same things that a serotonin reuptake inhibitor like Prozac would do. And a buddy of mine was taking it, and his wife was like, "Oh man, you got to give this a go. It's very mild." And she was a nurse, so she had some idea what she was talking about. She's like, "It's the same as a lot of the over-the-counter antidepressants, but you can get a giant bottle for almost nothing." And I was like, well, I'll give it a go. I'm stressed out. I wasn't really stoked about life at the time. And I started taking this stuff, and for about 2 or 3 days, I felt better taking the St. John's wort stuff. And during the day, I would feel great. And then at night, I started really not being able to sleep. Like I'd always had problems sleeping. And I was depressed while I was taking it. And I started thinking to myself, if I was going to kill myself, how would I do it? And in my mind, every single night when I would go to bed, I would make plans. I'd be like, well, if I was going to kill myself, I wouldn't want to do something painful or messy. I'd want it to be pleasant and easy, or as pleasant and easy as possible for the people that love me. And this is how I would like to divvy up the things that I own in the world, my earthly possessions. And that's how I would do it. I started making, I didn't think I was actually going to kill myself, but I started making plans of how I would do it if I was going to end it. Well, it did get really dark, and there's a point here. I was also going to a therapist at the time, and I was like, I'm starting to have these, thoughts and these feelings. And he's like, are you taking anything? Are you taking anything for this? Or like, what, are you medicating yourself? I was like, well, I am taking the St. John's wort stuff. And he was like, discontinue immediately. And what he said about St. John's wort really, really scared me.
Real Radio
104.1.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So I guess that was a bit of an unfair cliffhanger, but if you're just joining the show, I was talking about the fact that a buddy of mine was taking that stuff, St. John's wort. It's supposed to be nature's antidepressant. And his wife was a nurse. She seemed medically together, like she knew what she was talking about. And she's like, yeah, it's really it's got similar properties to a lot of serotonin reuptake inhibitors like Prozac and things like that will help turn your frown upside down, especially if you're depressed like I was at the time. Depression is something I've battled for my entire life. Battled is too strong a word. Depression is something I've had my entire life. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll give it a go. Took St. John's wort, felt great for about a week, and would feel great during the days, but as I was trying to fall asleep, I started thinking about ending my life and how I would do it. Now, hear me on this one. I wasn't saying that I would end my life. I wasn't saying that I'd planned to, but I started considering if that was something I was going to do, how would I do it? Something painful, something that wouldn't be painful, something that would leave a minimum of cleanup for my friends, family, and loved ones. This is how I would divvy out my belongings to the people I care about the most in the world. And I was also going to shrink at the time, and I was like, and he was like, anything new? I was like, yeah, I can't stop making plans for my own suicide. And he was like, anything different? Have you ever felt like this ever before at all, ever? I was like, no, never. I am taking the St. John's wort stuff. And he was like, discontinue that immediately. And if you ever do anything like that ever again, ask me first. And I was like, well, it's over the counter. Anyone can buy it. It's, what it is. It's supposed to be mild and natural. And he was like, in some people, that produces suicidal thoughts. I was like, but it's over the counter. It's mild. He was like, in some people, that produces suicidal thoughts in the same way that a lot of real non-over-the-counter prescription medications can. And he was like, it is a tremendously dangerous thing to have people be able to just pick that up off the shelf and give it to themselves. I was like, well, I can see that now. And just to be clear, not a suicidal person, had never had any of these thoughts before in my life, not many things wrong with the old gray matter upstairs, but that had never been one of them before. And it was like clockwork. Started taking this stuff, started having suicidal thoughts at night. Didn't think it was anything other than a symptom of my depression. Got off the St. John's wort, bazinga. All those thoughts went away. And it made me go, wow, I can't believe you could just go into a store and buy that. And the pharmacist wasn't even like, hey, be careful. You might think about doing something terrible if you take this. And there's no warning on the bottle either. It was just crazy. So, I think there's probably tremendous value in natural cures and nutritional healing and things like hypnosis and hypnotherapy and all of the above, but it occupies this really weird, morally unstable territory. And it's crazy. How did we get onto this? Oh, yeah, that lawyer in Ohio. He put clients into a trance so he could molest them.
Just
and
go down this dark corner.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, we're all happy for you.
Well,
dropping the
if
wart.
you're thinking of taking St. John's wort, ask your doctor first.
Please.
I think is the moral of the
That's the
freaking
scariest
story.
thing I've heard all day.
Really?
Yeah. Just
it's early.
That's true.
No, it is scary. How much time do we have left?
Oh, we got like 10 minutes.
Because, I wanted to talk about. Did you hear? Well, let's do some news. But did you hear that Ben Carson is bailing on the idea of taking a position in Donald Trump's administration?
No.
And
yeah, I gotta
logic.
be honest. I've turned the TV off for the last week and a half, so I'm not as caught up as I was.
Well, yeah,
taking a little breaky break.
Taking a little breaky break is probably a healthy thing. But Ben Carson said he will not be taking a position in Donald Trump's administration. And the logic behind it, the reason why, just made me go, meh. And we'll discuss why I went meh after we finish what remains of the news. What up, Funkhouser? What else is going on in the world?
Tinder is adding 37 more gender identity options.
Do you still have your Tinder account? I mean, you've been shacked up with Canadian Jane for a while now. But
no, you can't. Can't do that. You know.
Oh, I'd just be curious to know what the gender identity options were on it. And you know what's interesting about the idea of gender? Like this whole thing of man, woman, and that's it. In other parts of the world, there are already I couldn't even imagine what 37 different genders would be. But this is a thing that has been recognized in, I think, parts of India for a really, really long time. And you know what? A lot of people are going to go like, that's ridiculous. You're bird to bird. And look, here's the thing. I'm a fan of anything that pushes this agenda, just because the sooner we can get accustomed to it, the sooner we can get over it. And as we've said, people with gender identity confusion, I think it's called gender dysphoria, said this over and over again on the show. And this ties neatly into the idea of suicide, which is, just what you want.
Yeah.
Let's continue the cheery direction of the show. But I think it's something like 4% of, if you're straight, if you're a guy that likes girls or girl that likes guys, and you're not confused about your identity with regard to gender, 4% of us will attempt suicide. If you are gay, I think that number jumps to something like 14%. Now, if you have gender dysphoria, I think is the term that's being used to describe it. If you're confused about your gender, if you're not entirely sure who you are with regard to your identity in that, the number of attempted suicides jumps up to almost 50%. And people are going to be like, Tinder adding 37 more gender identity options. That's ridiculous. But you know what? The more that happens to get people accustomed to the ideas that things are not black and white, that there are numerous shades of gray in between, that gets people accustomed to that idea and makes people that do have these confusions that they didn't ask for, that they didn't choose, less likely to off themselves. That's a good thing. So Tinder, pushing that narrative, I suppose is what you would call it, is moving that ball of acceptance down the field further. So hopefully we'll come to a point where we don't have to think about any of that. And people that did not choose that had that thrust upon them by a hand that life dealt them, will be less likely to attempt suicide. 50% right now. If you have gender confusion, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to try and kill yourself. So, yeah. There you go. What else, Funkhouser?
People.
Come on, something cheerful.
Oh, here we go. People magazine named Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson the sexiest man alive.
Although I think The Rock only won sexiest man electoral college. Ryan Gosling got the popular vote. So
Ryan Gosling, I should have voted.
Hashtag not my sexiest man alive.
Hashtag never Dwayne. Never Johnson.
Hashtag. It sounds dirty, but it's not. Hashtag.
It might be dirty. Be careful.
Hashtag never the Rock. And you know what's interesting about that? Makes it the second loss in the past week for Tim Kaine. He's not having a good one. So, Dr. Ben Carson, retired neurosurgeon, unbelievably intelligent guy, obviously, ran for president. You remember that? Because it's going to come into play in just a second. There's been all this talk that Ben Carson was offered a position as Donald Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services. Hey, retired neurosurgeon with political aspirations offered the position of Secretary of Health. Well, I think this is something that we can go, he is a neurosurgeon. That sort of makes sense. He is qualified. He knows a thing or two about health. But whether or not that's true is not going to happen. Not going to be a thing. Dr. Ben Carson will not be Donald Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, he did endorse Donald Trump. So I can't imagine that it's not wanting to work for Donald Trump. But here's the deal. Carson said he will not be taking any position in the Trump administration. Want to know why, Funkhouser? Why do you think he's saying he won't take any position in the Trump administration?
Because he's a doctor?
No. His business manager said, and I quote, Dr. Carson feels he has no government experience. He's never run a federal agency. What? The last thing he would want to do was take a position that could cripple the presidency.
Not the day.
You want to do the math here. If you're putting this all together in your mind. Excuse me. Hold on. I'm going to hit the cough button. If you're doing the math, if you're putting it all together in your mind, if you're scratching your head going, wait a second, you're right. That's right. You are correct. The man who ran a serious campaign to become president of these United States of America will not take a cabinet position because he has no government experience. This man is a neurosurgeon. Dr. Ben Carson is a neurosurgeon. A lauded neurosurgeon. Like, it's enough to be a neurosurgeon. That's impressive. It's like rocket scientist. Except you're helping people live. But then to be sort of like a world-renowned neurosurgeon, that puts him in the top 1% of the top 1% when it comes to smarts. Dr. Ben Carson is brilliant. He is a brilliant man. There's no two ways about it. He is unbelievably intelligent. What he has forgotten is more than we will ever know. It's a given that this man is an absolute genius. Why has he tried so hard over the past year and a half to prove otherwise? Yeah. And that was a man who was on his path to becoming president of these United States of America. A man who was going, hey, vote for me. I'm the guy. And it's not a slam on Ben Carson. It's just, well, it's something that we keep coming back to over and over again on this show. That's a politician. That's a person that who, for whatever reason, felt like he could be, should be, would be the leader of the free world. He wanted you to pin all your hopes and dreams for this country on him. And in a very weird sort of way, he went, I'm not really about public service. I'd mess it up. I would screw it up when he didn't get what he wanted. And like I said, this is not an all-out assault on Ben Carson, but this is just one in a long line of constant reminders, no matter who you voted for, no matter what you see for America. Said it before, I will say it again. These things that we all want, they're universal. You want a roof over your head. You want work that's meaningful, that pays for the things that you need in this life. You want to have more money at the end of the month, not more month at the end of the money. If you have kids, you want your kids to have a real shot. You want your kids to have a real shot at an education. You want your kids to have a real shot at a life. And we all have different ideas about how to get there. But maybe if we recognize that we're all after the same thing, we can have a conversation. We can talk. We can learn something from one another. And maybe get there quicker. And it's a reminder that it's us. It's we, the people, who are going to share this information with one another, who are going to have these conversations, who are hopefully, in the face of politicians we are unsure about, going to form a closer bond with one another and help our fellow man and woman, our fellow Americans, get where we're going and achieve the things that we want in our America. Thank you so much for hanging out.